Have you ever been misunderstood for simply being direct? When we think about it, you would think that misunderstandings come from being vague, being indirect, being indecisive. But that is not always the case. That's what I want to speak with you all about today. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the KimUnity Soulutions podcast, the only podcast that is inspiring humanity and leadership within and beyond the workplace. It is so good to be with you all today. Again, I am your host, Kim the SME. I am only speaking from my experiences. And that is exactly what brought this topic up today about being direct and misunderstood. The other day, I was speaking to my daughter, and she was telling me about a balance on her account. And I was asking her questions. Well, actually, she had asked me a question about the final payment, and I was asking more questions. So, what is your payment? Well, I don't know. I said, well, what is your remaining balance? And she says, well, I don't know, and my computer's not working right now. I said, okay, well, you said you've been paying on it. What have you been paying? And by me asking more details, because I'm trying to give a most accurate answer to her question, she is now becoming offensive. My directness, my questions, my tone are now being misunderstood. It is not because I'm being vague, it is because I'm being direct. Has that ever happened to you? When we ask for directions, especially with GPS, we want clear, concise turns. Do I turn left or right? What street? How far up do I need to go? Are there detours? We want to know all of the details. But when we are face to face with an actual human, being direct can seem intimidating, can seem offensive, disrespectful even. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I want to speak on today. You've heard before, and I'm sure you've said it before. If someone asks you a question and then they respond with a question, you respond and said, are you really answering a question with a question? That's because sometimes more details are needed. In order to prepare for this episode, I really wanted to get a better understanding of what direct was. What does the dictionary say direct means? So the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines direct as to point, extend, or project in a specified time or course, to carry out the organizing, energizing, and supervising of, to train and lead, to impart orally, to show or point out the way. In the word direction, direct is included in there. Direct is the root word in direction. And direction is defined by the Merriam-Webster dictionary as guidance or supervision of action or conduct. It's basically like, it can be seen as management. As I sat and thought about it, I thought about it as I was younger. When I was younger, I grew up in a household where my father was very direct. He had a strong voice. I wasn't fearful of it. I knew that was his character. I knew that was how he taught, how he was fathering, parenting. And that's how I developed. That is something that I took from him, is being direct, because I want understanding. I'm the type of person that I may ask a few questions in order to get understanding for myself. It's hard for me to move forward if I have a shaky foundation. I need clarity. And to be able to ask someone question after question in order to get that clarity should not be frowned upon. It should be welcomed. But on the other side of that, some may see it as being challenged. Let me make sure my mic is on because I'm re-recording this, right? I pray that it is on this time. So yes, it could be seen as challenging. I always put myself in someone else's shoes. So yes, that was my childhood. That was my adolescence. But when you think about someone else's, maybe they didn't grow up with a father in a home. Maybe they didn't have a father figure. So hearing that tone and that delivery and that mannerism may be off-putting. I had a friend who didn't have a father in her life. And as we grew up and became adults and I became married and they saw the interactions between myself, my husband, and my children, she found offense to it because she wasn't used to it. And her mother even explained that to me, that she is not used to that type of environment. So when she gets in the workplace and she hears people speaking directly, whether it's from a man or a woman, it may be traumatizing to some. For the ones that were in the household and they didn't have pleasant experiences, that's a whole nother story. So it's so important to have empathy and to have understanding and to this is what I would call mindful conversation, is to be mindful of who you're speaking to and being self-aware of how you are speaking, how you are delivering, and to seek clarity, to seek guidance and understanding. Again, we all have different lived and unlived experiences. So in order to move forward, in order to grow, at some point we have to get on one accord. And there's no other way to do that without communicating. When you're on social media now, or what I've heard recently are two terms. One is the soft life, and one is gentle parenting. I don't know what the real definition of that, but when I hear it, it is not being so direct, giving the children options, not, I would assume it would be more open ended conversations or answers. I'm not sure, but the whole point that I'm trying to get to is that everything is so delicate now, everything is so gentle, everything is so protected, unnecessarily protected. Just by having a conversation and asking a direct question can be seen as offensive. So what I want to do next is just lay out a few points that I was thinking of that are beneficial for being direct and others that can be detrimental or discouraging. So let's get into that real quick. So the first is that being direct is clarifying. It gives an answer. It gives a response. It's not something that you have to think about any further. It saves time. Being direct, you're not beating around the bush to get to something. You ask a question, it's answered. And then the great part about it is it's dependable and mostly trustworthy, because when that answer is received, they can usually back it up with different examples. And if they don't know, then it's easy to say, I don't know. Well, let me ask you more. Then there's more clarifying questions. And all of that shows me that there is trust, that there is care, there is concern, and they are truly trying to help. They are truly trying to assist. Otherwise, they could have turned and walked away. They could have avoided it, right? Those are all the different ways of not being direct. They could have turned it into a joke and been nonchalant about it. The other side of being direct is that people think that you're being harsh or you're intimidating or you are offensive. It could be considered triggering, like I mentioned before, as far as growing up in a household with a male or anyone to that factor with that type of tone, with something else attached to it, some kind of trauma or abuse attached to it. Being indirect leaves more room for criticism, leaves more room for misunderstanding. And the other side of being direct is having to ask more questions in order to get the proper response. So now they feel like they're being interrogated. That's the word that I was looking for earlier. They feel like they're not trustworthy. So what can we do about that? It is so important, whether you are in the workplace, whether you are at home, is to make sure that there is understanding. What happens is that we come into contact with people and communicate with people who are not familiar with us. They don't know what to expect. And if it's anything out of their norm, their ordinary, they pull back. They use that against you, and it becomes an unproductive event. So I would say that it's very important, especially when you're dealing with someone or speaking with someone that you don't know how they're going to take your delivery style, especially depending on the question, is to be honest, be clear, set up the groundwork first. Let them know what your intentions are. And you can just say, okay, well, I want to help you. I want to support you. Let me tell you what I think. This is how I look at it. So always set up that intention first. The other thing is that always be open to dialogue. It shouldn't just be a one-sided conversation. And if you see that there's any type of body language or withdrawal from the conversation or snarky remark or avoidance, that's something that you would want to address. And just say, I'm sorry, is everything okay? Was I able to answer your question? Please let me know if there's anything else you need. Be open to feedback. You want to make sure that what you said was understood in the same way that you intended and not leave it for someone else's interpretation. And that's where miscommunications occur. In the workplace, it is detrimental to the future of the relationship, to the responsibilities, and to the outcome. Because number one, it reduces productivity. That person is no longer going to give forth their 100% if they were giving that at the beginning. They are less likely to come back and give you innovative ideas and ideas for more efficiency and room for growth. They're going to be avoidant of you. They are going to hold back. So it is so important to make sure we all do our part in having mindful conversation, which is having that empathy, being more self-aware, and having clarity, being as clear as possible with those that we are speaking to. I hope this is helpful for you. I really want everyone that's listening that has ever been direct with someone in their communication style and been negatively impacted. How have you changed? How have you tried to correct that? Do you feel that there is need to correct it? Or maybe you feel like you didn't do anything wrong, nothing needs to be changed on your part. Please share that in the comments so we all have a better understanding. This episode, this podcast, this business is called KimUnity Soulutions. And it's about us all coming together, sharing our perspective, finding out what works, what doesn't work, and really creating solutions that actually have people in mind. people in mind, how would you resolve it? How have you resolved it? What is it that you do not like about direct conversations? How do you become offended? When you think back to the root of the problem, why is that? What happened in your past? What are you used to? Maybe you were raised by a soft-spoken grandmother. Maybe the people that you used to seek advice from didn't answer or responded with a question to give you room to think instead of always having an answer for you. That's a totally different perspective. So please leave your thoughts in the comments. Please leave your experiences in the comments. I would love to learn from you and for everyone else to share so we all can learn from each other. I am your host, Kim, the SME. It is great speaking with you all. I hope that you are more mindful as you step into different conversations of tomorrow and really think about what you are saying, but also looking into who you're speaking to and what their body language says and what their response is and what their feedback is and how you accept that, how your communication can be received as negative. This is all about self-awareness. It is always about us all having room for growth. We all have room for growth. Until next time, I am so glad you have tuned in to the KimUnity Solutions podcast. You all be blessed. Bye-bye.